Hey, I'm John. Welcome to Mr. G's Workbench and part 9 of our step-by-step build of Kinetic's A-18 Worimi Hornet. Today we're going to get this plane ready for paint. We're going to get the rest of the little doodads on, the antennas. We'll get as much of the external gear on that we can without damaging it. We'll finally get the instrument panel combing painted so that we can get the windscreen and canopy on for paint. And we'll get the correct tails on. Before I begin, thank you to John once again. You've become like my go-to Aussie Hornet guy. So John pointed out the correct tails that needed to be used. I made it a point to go back and review my reference photos, make sure I use the right tails. I think we're on the right track, and I hope, John, you'll be happy with our finished product. So before we get started, usual YouTube fare. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I hope I can convince you to do so. Just hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Also, if anyone has any suggestions, comments, snide remarks, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I welcome them all, good and bad. So let's jump into the F-18 build and let's get ready for paint. Assembly is done to the point that we're ready for primer. I'll give you a quick wrap up of what we did today. The first thing we did was we made sure that we installed the correct tails. Thank you to John in Australia for pointing out the differences. It had gone through a refurbishment and received these reinforcement plates on the tails. Those are all in. Thank you again, John, for pointing that out to me. After that, we got these antennas in that are spread out across the top. There are 2 antennas that'll go on the bottom later on after we get it up on its gear. I don't want them to break off while I'm painting, so I'll paint them separately and install them afterwards. The same with the tail hook. I'm going to paint that and install it separately afterwards. The next thing I did was I installed the photo etch HUD bracket into the instrument panel combing before I painted it. Once it was installed, I went and painted the instrument panel combing and this back area that I had not painted because I installed it after the cockpit was done. I painted both of those areas with Tamiya NATO black. Once the paint was dry, I went in. Oh, and then the other thing I had to do with the HUD bracket was I had to trim the HUD bracket down so that there'd be enough clearance for the windscreen. I dry fitted the windscreen and found that it was not going to fit with the full-size HUD bracket. I trimmed the HUD bracket back, painted the combing. I then installed the HUD projector lens down into the instrument panel combing. That was painted with Tamiya clear green. Underneath that was a coat of Tester's silver. I love to use the silver that comes in the little square bottle for stuff like lenses, because it's almost got like a chromey finish to it without using like a specifically chrome paint. Got that projector lens installed, and then I installed one piece of the HUD. I used L11, which was the longer clear piece. I installed that. And as I always do with a HUD plate, I painted the edge of that plate with Tamiya clear green. It gives the impression that it's like a thick piece of glass. So I did that. I then installed the windscreen using Gator's Grip PVA glue. I like to use that glue for clear parts. It bonds really well. Unfortunately, I think they've gone out of business, so I don't know what I'm going to do when that bottle goes. I'll have to be very prudent in how I use it. Then I installed the canopy. I've left the insert for the canopy out so that it would fit over the cockpit. I wanted to use it as a mask as well as getting it painted at the same time. So I've installed just the canopy. After it was masked off, I put 2 drops of Gator Grip to hold it in. This way I can pop it out easily after I'm done painting. Got all that done. I've got a coat of black on the exhausts. I think I'm going to paint them steel and then go back maybe with some version of clear coat. I'm looking at pictures to figure it out. It's either going to be steel or gunmetal, something dark, a dark metallic color. Those will get painted in the interim. I've got the gear mostly pre-painted. I'm going to square that up while I'm doing all this other painting. I like to try to consolidate all my paint work at one time. So I'm going to get the gear, make sure it's all painted up, get the gear bay doors painted in the correct color gray for the underbody. Then once we've got everything primed and painted in the next episode, by the way, which will be primer and paint, then we'll come back in the following episode. We'll get the gear on. We'll get the rest of the little doodads on. We'll get a clear coat on, decals, and we're going to wrap this up. I think we should be done in 2 more episodes. I didn't want to protract this series, but I also wanted to keep the individual episodes short. So I've been trying to, it helps me to stay focused too, because you may have noticed I have a short attention span at times. But we're getting there. I'm happy with the look of the plane. I'm not happy with the quality of the kit or the instructions, but that's a discussion for another day. So I hope to see you all next time when we prime and paint this bad boy and see what it looks like. Thank you all for stopping in. We've passed 500 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming back and watching again and again. I can't thank you enough, and I hope you enjoy the content I'm putting out. And if there's anything that you see or that you'd like me to do that I'm not doing, by all means, leave me a message in the comments and let me know what I can do to improve, or any ideas you might have for me to kind of make it more enjoyable for everyone, all right? So until then, see you all next time. Stay well.